Day 2 of training camp is in the books for the Chicago Bulls, and we got a couple of revelations to come out of it. Billy Donovan sees a big role coming up for Tre Jones. We got interviews from Billy Donovan, Tre Jones, and Kevin Huerter. We're going to talk a little bit about that and more right after this. What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content today, y'all. And we got another day of training camp, another set of interviews from Chicago Bulls personnel and players today. They interview Billy Donovan, Kevin Huerter, and Tre Jones after practice. And we're not going to get in full deep depth into all of those. That will be tomorrow's daily episode. On the nightlies, I'd like to talk about kind of a prevailing thought coming from that day of practice and training camp. Of course, most people already know Patrick Williams did get hurt in training camp, but he did come back on and was on a stationary bike for the rest of practice. So that's good. Billy Donovan said that he kind of twisted his ankle. His shoe got caught under him. He twisted his ankle trying to move forward on a run. So there you go on that with Patrick Williams. It's just something to look out for in regards to P. Will and especially with the competition that's going on here. And that's the thing that I want to focus on right now. Billy Donovan is continuing to bring that spirit of competition to it, and right now everything is open. And when you heard Billy Donovan talk today in practice, he talked a lot about the different roles and things like that and what he's expecting of players. He talked a lot about Coby White and Coby White's growth off ball and how Coby is going to have to run a lot off ball. He's still going to have the ball in his hands quite a bit, but what they're looking for in Coby is to continually be moving, right? And he said that he even talked to Coby and, once said, hey, you're going to probably have to run 20 times to get the ball twice, right? And that's something in that consistent movement off the ball that's going to help the team, help him grow as an off-ball player. And that's really good to hear. And Coby talked about wanting to grow as an off-ball player as well. And so that's really good. He talked about the chemistry of Josh Giddey and Coby White and how that really was the backbone of the team after the All-Star break. And they're trying to build off of that. Now, while Coby White isn't in practice, he was doing some shooting today, and he's been being a leader on the sidelines, kind of hyping guys up. That's the extent of what he can do right now. So he hasn't really gotten to get out there with his guys, but, we're going to see there. Now, he did talk also about Tre Jones and the role that Tre Jones had. He specifically talked about how he loves Tre Jones' ability to his leadership and setting up other players from the point guard role. And I think that kind of shows how they plan on using Tre Jones. We know that Tre Jones can shoot the ball. He can do some scoring as well. But I think when you look at that Bulls bench is that they don't have a lot of players that create their own shot in traditional ways, right? So even if Kevin Huerter ends up on the bench or if it's Isaac Okoro coming off the bench, either one of those guys coming off the bench for the Bulls, they're going to both need help, creating their own shot, as will Noah Essengay if he gets in the game, Jalen Smith, right? He's going to need that. So it seems like regardless of how many minutes Tre Jones plays, that he's going to be a huge linchpin in what the Bulls are trying to do to keep up their style of play from the starting lineup into the bench unit. And they're really relying heavily on Tre Jones to be able to bring that consistently for the Chicago Bulls team and lead that bench and lead it from a point guard role. And I think, when you look at Tre Jones and his ability, the fact that really good assists, a low turnover ratio when it comes down to that, he's also a solid rebounder. He can simulate a lot of kind of what Josh Giddey does from that point guard role. So keeping up that, and that's really what you look at. Kevin Huerter, when he was interviewed today as well, he was asked about being the starter. And he specifically said, it doesn't matter. He's trusting Billy Donovan. They got a lot of guys. They got a lot of depth. And their depth is going to be, the key to this team. And whatever role he plays in that depth, he's fine with. And, that's what we've heard a lot from these guys as well. It seems like there is a lot of trust from this unit in regards to Billy Donovan and what Billy can bring to this team. And so that's really good as well. And so, hearing that Tre Jones is going to be an important piece off the bench. I know some people had asked the question on how much is Tre Jones going to realistically play. I had a live stream earlier today after the P. Will news, and that was one of the questions is that, do we really expect Tre Jones to have a big role? And if you hear Billy Donovan talk about him, it seems like, yeah. Now, we don't know how the minute allocation is going to go because Billy does want to go deep into that bench, and that's how, the Bulls feel like is going to be special. Not only their pace and things like that, but the fact that they have a lot of guys that all spread the ball around, that all want to help make each other better. That's something that they're really relying on to bring some of that identity to this team. I think that's fun. And, Kevin Huerter talked about, the style of play and how quick and fast they want to play, and the strength and balance to this team. I'm sorry, the depth and the balance to this team is going to be one of the strengths of it. So, I think that's a good thing there. So, hearing the confidence that this team has, Kevin Huerter was asked specifically about the injuries in the Eastern Conference. Do they look at that and have the players talked about that as it being wide open for them? And Kevin Huerter said that, it's a lot of confidence in this group overall, and they have a very confident group in what they feel they can achieve together, what they're going to do together, and that's really good to hear as well. So overall, I think if you're looking at a takeaway from day two, the biggest takeaway, or some of the biggest takeaways, are Tre Jones is going to have a role on this team, and it seems like it's going to be an important role. Regardless of how the minutes shake out, he's going to have an important role of this team in his minutes on the bench. And, we'll see what the stagger is. Billy Donovan was asked about staggering Josh Giddey and Coby White. He was kind of non-committal to that. And I think part of that is the confidence in Tre Jones and his ability to run that offense. And if Io's also coming off that bench, which it seems like is likely, he has some trusted players that can be on that bench. And I think Huerter can play a part into that as well. So if you're looking at Zach Collins, Kevin Huerter, Tre Jones, Ayo Dosunmu being those guys that are going to be 6 through 9 coming off your bench, there's a level of confidence. And I think we saw that from Billy Donovan as well last season. And so the bench unit, there's some serious confidence in what this bench unit can be for the Chicago Bulls. There's some serious confidence in how they're going to be able to keep up what they're trying to do stylistically, right? Now, sometimes, and it's a different mindset depending on which team you talk about. Some teams like to have a bench unit that brings a different style, right? So whether it's like your offense, your heavily offensive balance in your starting lineup, you bring your defenders in, or you have a heavy hitter offensively coming off that bench to add a scoring punch into your starting lineup when you need it. It seems like what the Bulls are betting on is even balance throughout all those things, and staying on the same side of being able to just consistently do a little bit of everything. And if that ends up working out for the Chicago Bulls, great. I don't think there should be any problematic part of that. I think that should be a good thing, that if this Bulls team is trying to find it, it's all about identity. And that's what training camp is about for this Bulls team, finding the defense, finding the physicality, and establishing an identity. And it's something that's really been lacking. No matter how many games this team won or did not win, even when this team was the number one team in the East for a while, we didn't really have a true identity, right? We had a style, I think, then, and that was based on, playing tough defense, getting out there, but we really didn't have that identity. It was something different every night, right? We were still kind of establishing that. And it seems like now, since they had that success to end the season, as well as even what they did early in the season, by changing that style, they now can have figured out where the angle is to improve that going into next year. Depth, defense, physicality. That's what this team is built on right now. And I think those things are all going to, we'll see how successful they're going to be on that in the season. But that's just my quick thoughts from training camp day 2. We will break it down in full with clips from the interviews and everything going down tomorrow. So stay in tune with that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following us at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. And lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See red. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.